So this is an option that's not addictive. This is an option that's natural. This is an option that works. But it's not free lunch. It's something that you have to practice every single day to unpractice what you've been practicing that keeps you in a state of a personality, and it keeps you in a state of identifying with your mind and your body. So it takes time, it takes patience, it takes diligence. And most people aren't up for that. You know, most people, if it gets uncomfortable enough, they bail out. Whether it's meditation, a marriage, a job, a house, a car. That's how the mind works, right? If you're uncomfortable, start considering other options. Start to considering where else you can go, what else you can do. Find some new medication. So this option is an option that works, but it only works for people that have the ability and the willingness to persist. Meaning that no matter what the mind says to you, no matter what happens, no matter what circumstances you are dealing with in your life, that you meditate every single day without fail. By doing that, you're making a commitment to reality. By doing that, you're making a commitment to your true nature, which is awareness itself. And by doing that, you're making a commitment to well-being. Because if you practice meditation consistently, every day without fail, for a sufficient period of time, the mind will lose its hold on you, and you'll be free to experience your true nature, and your true nature is well-being. Awareness is well-being. It's always there. It's never not there. It may appear not to be there because your attention is on something else, but it's there. Right? You can check anytime you want. Now, ask yourself, am I aware? And look and see what the answer to the question is. It's always going to be yes. Right? So there's one thing you can count on that's stable. Right? The personality's unstable, right? Always changing, isn't it? Good, bad, different, it's always changing. So you can't count on something that's always changing because it's always changing. The body's always changing too, isn't it? Unfortunately. It's changing in the direction of dying. Yeah. So the only thing that's not changing is the awareness, right? And most people never notice the awareness because they don't see it. Why don't you see it? Why don't you see yourself? Why can't you see who you are? Why is this question, who am I, such an esoteric question? You know, why is this business of recognizing your true nature such a mysterious reality, right? Well, the reason that's the case is because we fall into the idea that if I want to find myself, I have to look for myself, and where am I going to look to see where I am? Where am I going to see myself? Well, you know, your default way of understanding reality is I'm going to see whatever there is to see out here. Well, the problem with seeing myself is that I'm not out here. There's a body out here, right? But the awareness that I am is not out here, right? So how do I experience my true nature? I have to pay attention to the awareness. And when I pay attention to the awareness, it's not out here, it's this way, okay? So you're turning your attention inward. And you're looking inward, you know, and the teachings that go along with meditation say that if you move your attention and look inward with your attention, you can have a direct experience of your true nature. And you already are having a direct experience of your true nature, but as I said, you weren't paying attention to it. So if you do pay attention to it and that attention is looking inward, you can make direct contact with your true nature, right? And when you make direct contact with your true nature, the way you're experiencing your true nature is to understand you're being it. You can't see it because you're looking from it. You're being it. The awareness that you're experiencing right now is you. You're experiencing who you are. You can't see it. It's not visible. Awareness is not visible. It doesn't have a form, right? But it's as real as you can imagine anything to be at the same time. There's nothing realer than your awareness. Everything else is an object your awareness is aware of. But that's not alive. The awareness is alive. It's real. It's vibrating. It's a vibration, right? It's real. It's alive. That's why we say when you practice meditation consistently, I'll get to you. When we practice meditation consistently, gradually what happens is you start to come alive. And so one of the ways we can talk about that experience is we can call it aliveness. Aliveness. When you start to wake up through the practice of meditation, you feel more alive. You feel the energy that your life is, instead of just identifying with the physical body or the personality, which isn't real at all. You start to feel the energy that your life is. That's called aliveness, and it's exciting to be alive. It's exciting to experience your existence. Your existence is the source of true happiness, not what's happening. You see, that's the personality considers what's happening to be the source of your happiness or well-being or your sadness or your what you're troubled by, right? Your circumstances, what's happening, right? That's the way the personality lives its life in relationship to what's happening, right? The awareness that you are is already happy, satisfied, and peaceful. It's not trying to get happy. It's not trying to find peace. So when you begin to experience that, you realize that you don't have to search for it in the world anymore. You can end the pursuit of happiness. You can be happy and then enter the day instead of go into the day trying to be happy. When you're awake and aware through practice as the awareness, you can make contact with what you used to call pain as a sensation. And it's a lot less painful to experience a sensation than it is to experience pain. Okay? So you have to practice that. You have to train yourself to relate to it differently. And what's happening when pain occurs in the body, right, is what goes on in your mind when there's pain in the body. And your relationship to what's happening in your mind determines the quality of your life. This is very important. This is the heart of the matter. This is the heart of the matter. What's going on in your mind determines the quality of your life. So what is it that goes on in the mind? Thinking, emotions, imaginations, images, memories, right? That's all happening in your mind, right? And your relationship to what's happening there determines the quality of your life. If the body is experiencing intense sensations and the mind calls it pain, and you're waking up because you've been practicing awareness, and now you're the awareness of what's happening in the mind instead of identifying with the mind. You're the awareness of what's happening in the mind. So when you practice experiencing yourself as the awareness of pain, right, instead of the one the pain is happening to, the awareness is not experiencing any pain. What you're aware of, the awareness that you are, does not experience pain or pleasure. It's just a witness. It just is. It's not experiencing any. That's all mental activity. That's all what's happening in your mind. So through the practice of meditation, you're developing a way of being related to your mind that doesn't allow your mind to determine the quality of your life. So when it goes crazy, you just relax. This is the informal practice that I speak of. This is what we just did as a formal practice. Yeah? When you do that consistently for long enough to start to experience some sense of the awareness itself, then it's time to do the informal practice. And when you do the informal practice, what you're doing is you're resting as awareness for brief moments as often as possible. So what I would recommend if you're dealing with pain is when the pain's happening, right, see if you can practice allowing your body to be as relaxed as possible, then pay attention to the mental activity, right, and allow yourself to experience resting as the awareness of the mind instead of identifying with the mind. If you do that over time, the pain will start to decline. Because the pain is only pain because when it arises in the mind, what also arises in the mind is what? Resistance. I don't want it. I don't like it. Right? Whatever you don't want and you don't like, unless you're aware of your true nature as awareness, whatever you don't want and you don't like that you resist or reject, you're giving the power to disturb you. Is that what you want? You want to live a disturbed existence? Whatever you reject or resist, whatever you don't allow to be the way it is, you're giving that the power to disturb you and to cause you to suffer and to cause you to be uncomfortable. Whatever you do allow to exist, see, if you allow your mind to be just the way it is, because I'm not talking about controlling your mind. This isn't mind control. I'm not talking about controlling your mind. I'm not talking about changing your mind. I'm not talking about improving your mind. I'm talking about doing anything with your mind. I'm talking about just being aware of yourself as the awareness that's aware of the mind. Let the mind do whatever it wants. If you are grounded in being, if you're grounded in your awareness, which is real, which is true, which is an experience, right? If you're grounded in that experience in relationship to the mind, right? The mind has no ability to do anything with you. Don't forget, the mind's not an independent reality that's operating that could, like trouble you. We give the mind this, we relate to the mind as if it's got a mind of its own, don't we? Those thoughts are bothering me, as if it's generating thoughts by itself, right? All you have to do to not have thoughts bother you is stop paying attention to the thoughts. That's so goddamn easy. So that's so simple, right? Nobody would come up with that, right? Because when the thoughts are bothering you, the way people relate to the troubling conditions in the mind, right, is to go into the mind and try and control it or resist it or change it, right? Doesn't work. But if you just practice meditation and become familiar, one of the definitions of the word meditation in some of the Asian languages translates into the word familiar. So if you come to this class on a regular basis, you will become more familiar with the truth. You'll become more familiar with what you are, with your awareness as the reality of what you are. And through that familiarity, you will be naturally interested and motivated and inspired to practice meditation, because through that practice, you can make the transition. You can make the transition gradually and slowly through practicing consistently. You can make the transition from identifying yourself with something that doesn't exist, which is the personality, and something that doesn't exist, but it's matter. It's not what you are. Awareness is not matter, right? And so by practicing meditation consistently, you can make a gradual transition away from what's not real and true to what is real and true, which is the awareness, which is what you really are. And as you make that transition, what will happen is the suffering that was happening because of your mistaken identity starts to lessen. And as you experience being the awareness, you begin to experience well-being, because awareness is always in a state of well-being. It's a gradual process. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes diligence and persistence. So the only thing that determines whether meditation can work for you and produce the outcomes that I'm talking about is whether you can persist. Whether you can persist. It's like learning to play the piano, right? Do you ever try and learn to play an instrument? Yeah, I tried to learn to play the drums. And I used to have a conga drum when I was in college, right? So I figured I used to be able to play that conga drum pretty well. I could make a good rhythm, right? So I could play the drums. So I bought myself an expensive set of drums, right? Only to find out I could not play the drums. So I had to sell the drums. But that's the way it goes, right? I mean, it's not that I couldn't play the drums, it's that I didn't realize that unless I practice every day and practice what somebody that could play the drums would tell me to practice, then I could play the drums. But that's a commitment of years of practice. So when my mind heard that, it said, nah, who's got a joint? That's the way the mind works, you see. But if meditation's the exact same thing, right? I can tell you how to practice meditation, but I can't practice it for you. And you have to do it consistently without fail every single day, which I have done, right, for many, many years. That's why I can vouch for the fact that it works. It does work. The problem is that there are very few people that experience the outcome of meditation because they can't stay with it. They can't stay with it. As soon as the right situation arises, it will justify not doing it. I mean, I was a real solid practitioner. I did meditation every single day, right? But then one day I fell and broke my leg and had to go to the ER. I couldn't practice that day. You see how the mind will immediately justify that as acceptable? It's not acceptable. because that's a circumstance, and if you keep giving way to circumstance instead of being committed to the truth, you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get anywhere. You got to see it through. You've got to see this through. That's what it takes. And that's why I say, if you come to this class, you will become more familiar with the truth, and you'll become more familiar with what it takes to experience what meditation makes available. So, any other questions? Was that help a little?
Yes.
Okay, good. Other questions? What is it about this that might be helpful for you to unpack? What is it about this that you may be confused about? What is it about this that may help to inspire you? That's a beautiful word, inspiration. You know what it means? It means to breathe life into. If I inspire you, I'm breathing life into you. So I would like to be inspirational here. I would like to inspire you to understand that if you practice meditation, it will be psychotherapeutic. I'm a psychologist, so I'm telling you that you can avoid having to pay me. That's not a good idea, maybe. But it's true. It's true that if you practice meditation every day, you will become aware of the personality, and you'll become aware of its dysfunction, and you'll become aware when you shouldn't follow what it tells you to do. And therefore, you'll stop doing it. And if you stop doing it, you'll stop suffering. If you just get control of this slit in your face, if you just get in control of this slit in your face, it could save you a lot of suffering. Because one of the things that happens for people is what goes on in the mind, right, gets directly connected to the mouth, right? And once it comes out of the mouth, you can't get it back. And then whoever you said that to is unforgiving. Right? If you say everything that you think, you're an idiot. And if you only say what you think when you're pissed off, you're stupid. So this is about going sane and being more intelligent. You know, being able to relax, be calmer, move through your life, move through all of the circumstances, and then move through the bad news every day without experiencing a negative state of mind. Don't see, the thing is, when you start to wake up and you experience things the way they really are, it's a relief. It's a relief. Because you come to see that no matter what the circumstances are that exist right now, right, that those circumstances have to answer to a larger reality. Yeah. So don't just look at what's going on right now and think that's the end of the story, right? Look back historically, right? Everything has to answer to a larger reality. And until people wake up to that, they'll just have to keep suffering until the suffering works. See, suffering is meaningful when you wake up because you realize suffering is the best thing that ever happened to you, right? Because without suffering, would you want to wake up? No. Suffering is the best thing that ever happened to you. It's designed. Suffering has been designed to move you away from being stuck as a personality onto the next level, which is to wake up. And when you wake up, you have the innocence of the baby, you have the identity of the baby, and you have the ability of the personality to be in the world and function in the world effectively. You have it all. You have it all. You have the ability to be happy before you do your day, and then have the skillfulness to do your day in a more effective way because you're not in your head all the time. That's not hard to get, right?